Welcome back to my channel. For those of you who do not quite understand what I mean, that even in secular societies you're made to believe something, let me start by explaining something else. I'm not a Marxist, I'm not a socialist, but Karl Marx did say something that, in my opinion, was very right. He said, religion is the opiate for the people. Well, he said it in German, obviously, but still. And I think that's really true. And this is probably why, if we go back in European history, the churches used to basically all work in one language. The Catholic Church used Latin. So if you would go to Mass, you would get that Mass in Latin. And it took quite some time before there were Bibles in their respective languages of the people. And even in that time, people mostly couldn't read anyway. So the only people who knew what was in the Bible were the ones that could read it, and everyone else only knew what was in the Bible because they were told. Now, if I don't tell you everything, you don't know everything. So I can keep you dumb. We see this with Christianity, we see this with Islam, and now we see this with politics. What do you mean? Well, you know what? I'm not going to tell you. Just listen to this guy.
Also interesting is, remember, it's illegal to possess these stolen documents. It's different for the media. So everything you learn about this, you're learning from us. And in full disclosure, let's take a look at what is in there and what it means. Joining us now, CNN's.
My Google fu was very weak. I didn't find a better edit of that CNN clip. Maybe I didn't look very well either, that's true too. Anyway, basically what he's telling you is that he's going to tell you what's in it, and you have to believe him. Now, I'm not going to say that I don't believe him. I don't have to say that. What I am going to say is, why can't I make up my own mind? Ah, but it's illegal for you to have it. It's not illegal for me to have it because I'm a journalist, but for you, it's illegal. And therein lies the problem. You, as a person, are supposed to know what you're on about. But at the same time, you're not allowed to know what you're on about. There is a discrepancy in this. And this discrepancy is destroying democracy. See, the thing is, there are different news outlets out there. And most people seem to follow these news outlets, well, religiously. For example, I don't like Fox. I think they are right-wing biased. Therefore, I don't believe anything Fox says. Or, I don't like Alex Jones. The dude believes in lizard people. Therefore, I don't believe anything he says. Or, I don't believe the Young Turks, the social justice warriors. Therefore, I don't believe anything that comes from the channel of the Young Turks. Or, I don't believe rebel media. I mean, the fact alone that they call themselves rebels, doesn't that tell you enough? All of these statements are wrong. You should listen to all of these channels and then do some research yourself. And this is where most people basically sign off. I listen to the news so that I don't have to look for the news myself. But unfortunately, the news has always been somewhat biased, and at this very point in our history, it's very biased. So yes, we cannot listen and believe. I know this is difficult because we want to listen and believe. We want to believe that the channels that we chose as our intake for news are actually being nice to us. They're actually telling us the truth. They're actually trying to help us. Reality be damned. This is our new religion. And that's the real issue. Now, why is that a real issue? Let me show you my second clip.
Welcome back to Reliable Sources. I'm Brian Stelter. Donald Trump is heaping praise on WikiLeaks, while the Clinton campaign condemns the ongoing publication of stolen emails from Clinton Chairman John Podesta. WikiLeaks is publishing new emails every day. Now, despite Trump's claims that the media is ignoring the trove of emails, this kind of document dump is irresistible to journalists. It is providing a glimpse into the inner workings of Clinton's campaign, confirming a lot of what we thought we knew, and showing efforts to control and shape favorable news coverage. So what are we learning? How newsworthy are these really? Joining me now is someone very familiar with reporting on leaked and hacked information, Glenn Greenwald, the co-founding editor of The Intercept, who helped break the Snowden leaks wide open. This, of course, was a number of years ago. And Glenn, your relationship to WikiLeaks has changed. How so?
Okay, I'm going to use this clip from CNN. There are other ones out there. You could go for Fox, you could go for MSNBC. It doesn't matter. My point is not to prove that they have different biases, because they all do have different biases. Some are in favor of Clinton, some are in favor of Trump. The thing that I want to point out is that none of them are in favor of the truth. They like to narrate their story. They want to steer it in a certain direction. I'm sorry for the Hillary supporters out there. This one proves that CNN is basically pushing Hillary Clinton. Don't get me wrong, I do not push Hillary Clinton nor Trump, because South Park said it best when they said turd sandwich and giant douche, and I have nothing to add. But what I do want to point out is that this reporter himself says, well, we already know what's in there, but it shows how the media got controlled and the media coverage got shaped. So either you're telling me we already knew what's in there, but we didn't tell it because we didn't care, or you're telling me we knew what is in there, but we didn't tell it because we got pointed in a different direction. Or at least this is how I'm seeing it. And then we get to talk to an expert, because the Snowden leaks, and he's against WikiLeaks because the WikiLeaks shows everything, where in the Snowden leaks only things were shown partially. And both Snowden and Assange are hiding because they're not safe if they ever come to America. So whistleblowers are criminals. Kind of funny how that goes, isn't it?
Well, ironically, WikiLeaks was one of the most vocal critics of how we reported on the Snowden archive. They were indignant about the fact that we didn't just take it and indiscriminately dump it all onto the internet,
Right,
but instead curated it, tried to protect people's personal information, and to this day.
He rambles on a bit on why WikiLeaks didn't enjoy the way they censored the leaks of Snowden. And it's brilliant how they say that they protected some people. They never say which people they protected, by the way. Guess what, though? It's not you or me. Never mind that. Let's continue. Oh, and yes, I'm not going to show the whole thing. I'm just going to cut pieces out, because otherwise it would be too long. I'm sorry.
is it ethical to report on stolen information?
Not only is it ethical, it would be incredibly unethical if journalists ignored it. Many of the most important stories in the history of American journalism come from stolen materials, whether it be the Pentagon Papers, whether it be the Manning and Snowden files, whether it be sources that take classified information and give it to Donna Priest at the Washington Post so she can uncover CIA black sites, or the Bush warrantless eavesdropping program. So many of these acts that lead to the best journalism are grounded in illegality. No journalist has the right to say, I'm only going to report on information as long as the source is morally upstanding. No real journalist would think that way.
Okay, I'm just going to ignore the no true Scotsman's fallacy in the end. But is it ethical to report on this is actually a question. Of course it's ethical to report on this, because this is stuff that happens that should not be allowed to happen. So yes, maybe it's because someone hacked someone's server and therefore this information is out there. But then this information proves that stuff is happening that is not allowed to happen. So how come whistleblowing is illegal in America? Because that's the real issue here. But no. Let's continue on how people like Assange and Snowden are breaking the rules. They're breaking the law. a law that protects the one breaking the law in the first place.
Watching Fox News coverage of this leak this week, this stolen trove this week, I've gotten the sense they believe there are bombshells. Let me put on screen a few examples of what Sean Hannity said really stood out to him. Examples of media collusion between the Clinton campaign and journalists. CNBC's John Harwood offering advice to the Clinton campaign. The New York Times in one case allowing edits to quotes of Clinton. The Boston Globe pumping up the campaign. Univision pressured to attack Trump. The campaign bragging about media support. And Donna Brazile receiving a leaked town hall question.
Is John Hannity saying these are examples of media collusions, or did you just have a Freudian slip?
Are these isolated examples, Glenn, of journalistic improprieties, or are they evidence of collusion?
Considering the amount that are being leaked by WikiLeaks, and considering the amounts of other sources that tell of this, for example TMZ, I'm not sure if you can still call it isolated incidents. I mean, if we look at the Clinton campaign versus Sanders, there has also been some clear indication and some proof, actually, that the Clinton campaign didn't keep their hands clean. And again, you ask if this is an example of collusion. Well, yes, it is. I mean, the media knew of this, and they decided not to run with it. But it does kind of show that the first time you said it, probably was a Freudian slip.
I think they're examples of at least some of them. Some of them are just the sort of normal, standard back and forth jockeying between campaigns and journalists. Others, though, are, I think, examples of serious impropriety. I think Donna Brazile leaking, getting a hold of a town hall question and only giving it to the Clinton campaign and not the Sanders campaign is an example of cheating. It's
Let's put that
journalistic and
headline up
unethical.
on screen. I wrote about this earlier this week on CNN.com. And just to explain to our audience at home what happened here, what seems to have happened here. This was a CNN TV1 town hall back in March. Sanders and Clinton both on stage. There's an email in this document dump that shows then CNN controller and DNC Vice Chair Donna Brazile emailing a question that seems to be a town hall question to Jennifer Palmieri at the Clinton campaign. The next day, a version of that question was read on stage at the CNN TV1 town hall. Now, CNN has just flatly denied ever sharing any question, and to be honest, Glenn, I've been inside just one of these debate preps. I can't imagine a question leaking out. Then again, somehow it did. And so CNN suggested that TV1, Roland Martin, its partner, was maybe the person that sent the question to Donna Brazile. He hasn't really responded to that. He's sort of denied it.
But then she's the one who passed it to the Clinton campaign.
That's right. And the point is it's still a mystery. You know, no, we haven't gotten an exact answer to how the heck this happened. Trump has taken this to say, oh, well, Clinton's being given debate questions, using the plural, using questions, right? So I feel like he's taking a grain of truth and turning it into a lie.
Well,
Okay, how many of you noticed what just happened in this small segment? At first, he's not really giving an answer. He's dancing around the stew a little bit. But then when he comes to the Brazil bit and he starts saying like, okay, this is something that shouldn't happen, he's no longer allowed to finish his story because the reporter himself needs to say something. And yes, I know he has a name, but I'm not going to be bothered with it. And the thing he is saying is, haha, well, there is one piece of proof, and then Trump says there's a lot of proof. Or he makes it plural. No, idiot. The point is not whether Trumps make it plural or not. It doesn't matter. The fact that it happened once is already too often. And we don't know that it happened once. We only know of it happening once. That doesn't mean it didn't happen more often. But herein lies the double standards. You invite someone to talk to you about what you think is ethical or what is not ethical, and as soon as he starts pointing out that, well, there was something unethical, yeah, but Trump is worse. To be honest, I don't give a fuck whether you think Trump is worse or not. You might be right, you might be wrong. That is not the issue at hand. That's not what you guys are talking about. Even in the discussion on whether the media is unfairly assisting the Clinton campaign, you are siding with the Clinton campaign, not with the facts. This isn't Clinton-Trump. This is media versus media. Are we doing it the right way or are we doing it the wrong way? And as soon as someone tells you, well, Brazil didn't handle it really well, yeah, but Trump is worse. This is where I'm going to end my thing about the reliable sources. And again, it's not to bash on Clinton. This is to prove what the media is doing. And yes, I only gave one example, or rather one program. Look at how the media is handling things. And yes, Fox is doing the same in favor of Trump, even though at the beginning they were also against Trump, but now suddenly they're all for him. I don't give a fuck. They're trying to be a player. They're not trying to be the news. They're not trying to be objective and telling you what is out there. They're trying to steer you in a certain direction. And you're not allowed to read the mails, because if you have them, it's illegal. But they can tell you what's in the mails because, well, they're the journalists, they're the media. But as soon as someone who they themselves invite starts talking about it, and the story goes a little bit off of the narrative that they want you to hear, they interrupt. They will let you know that what someone else is doing is also bad. The question is not if what someone else is doing is also bad. The question is this bad? Anyway, criticism as always is more than welcome. This is where I'm going to call it quits. I think my point is made. And again, it's not about whether Hillary Clinton is a bad candidate and whether Trump is the good candidate, because I care for neither of them. The question is, can we trust our media? And to that, my answer is no. And if we cannot trust our media, that means we have to be our media. We have to look for the answers. We have to look for the things that are happening in our society. If we don't do that, well, I think the expression is sheeple, isn't it? Anyway, thank you for your time. Oh, damn it, I always forget this. Yeah, like, share, subscribe if you feel inclined to.